Hey everybody, Off the Mic Sports Network here, another edition of Off the Top Rope. So listen, one thing I've heard in the IWC since, Dynamite's Spring Breakthrough edition happened, um, was that, hey, this is gonna surpass anything that WWE does at WrestleMania. And I'm here to tell you, like, God bless you if you believe that. You're full of shit. Or you're just delusional. Because there yes, it was admittedly a great show, but come on, what are we talking about here? You had a show in front of what, 3,500 fans in Boston. WWE is going to have close to 55,000 people each night in Las Vegas. And yes, that seems like a lesser number compared to previous years, but WrestleMania is still WrestleMania. Come on. Like what are we talking? Like, listen, I know some people try to compare, that first All In 2023 like to some of the great WrestleMania crowds of all time. It's like, guys, what are we doing? Again, my whole thing with AEW is be consistent. Just be consistent. Cuz early on in AEW's existence, let's talk about this for a second. Early on in AEW's existence, they were consistently putting on good week to week television. And they only had 4 pay-per-views. And everything flew, and it wasn't not a lot of stuff felt rushed, and like storylines just were consistently told. And again, I take that back to what is ironic about this weekend. The two men who were very integral, I maybe can't even talk, but the two men who were very central and, big central figures in those stories being told week to week and only having like, a certain number of pay-per-views per year, like, 4 or 5 shows a year, was CM Punk. And, CM Punk obviously came in a little bit later, but you had Cody Rhodes. And yeah, I understand the way Cody Rhodes left, like the way his character was portrayed, and he acknowledges that he made some mistakes. But then I don't understand why so many people in that fan base just want to just look around and say, ha ha, look at us. We passed a milestone. We did something special. This is already better than what WWE is going to put on this weekend. Listen, I'm going to be the first to tell you guys, this has not been the cleanest WrestleMania build of all time. But I think the one thing that really has plagued this WrestleMania build is it had so much to live up to. And WWE, I think, kind of hurt itself by, like lifting the expectations up a little bit. Well, come on, guys. What are we talking about here? Everybody's just trying to talk bad about AEW because of some of the things that have gotten out in the media. They're trying to make like, this whole thing a MAGA versus no MAGA thing. I've talked about that on the channel. And it's just like, why does this always have to be about, okay? And maybe Tony Khan kind of leans into this, but really, and this is, like I said, part of the issue, and I've talked about this with Ricochet, and so many of these other people are just feeding into this tribalistic mindset of, oh, we have to be better. Like, oh, we put on a great wrestling show. We're better than WWE. It's like, no, you guys aren't. You guys aren't. That's why you had to use a really just a meaningless milestone to kind of make your show feel big enough to justify it. You rushed a bunch of matches that could have easily been on pay-per-view. You debuted a new star who you just signed. You had a big-time title change in front of a hot crowd, and it netted you nothing. You lost viewers. You lost viewers. And maybe that was because of the previous week, but you did a ton to promote this show to the point of, okay, this is going to register. So it's just like, even the casuals of the casuals are still going to watch Saturday and Sunday. Why? Because CM Punk is on that show. Why? Because Roman Reigns is on the show. They're going to watch Sunday because John Cena, it's his last WrestleMania, and he's a heel against Cody Rhodes. Even the casualist people on Easter Sunday are going to watch that, okay? Like, it's just, I don't get why they need to constantly compare themselves, like, to previous regimes or compare themselves to WCW, because it's just all petty to them. It's all a game. And I just get really frustrated. And CM Punk literally said this in an interview when he got into it with Jack Perry. Why do you guys insist on doing this internet shit? Why do you keep doing that? Why do you keep leaning into the internet nonsense that really those guys are just a bunch of booger eaters and just a bunch of nerds who are like sitting behind their keyboards and trying to be tough guys. Who cares about them? Care about making compelling television, because the next time you try to tell me about, oh, Max numbers, ooh, guys, I've been on Max. It is a challenge. You have to click over at least 2 or 3 things just to get to find where AEW Dynamite will appear on. Netflix, right there. Raw is right there on the front page. Peacock, whatever premium live event is up there, it's right plastered, right central in the middle. It's not very hard to find. That tells you everything you need to know. Yet for some reason, everybody just wants to feed into this, propaganda and just everything. And it's like, I want this place to do well. I've said that consistently. But when I see the type of, celebratory, it's great that you can celebrate. It was a great show, but it doesn't mean anything if the next week's show isn't great. It doesn't. WWE has built up enough equity where they can kind of get away with it. And yeah, it's kind of been lackluster through this WrestleMania build because they're kind of been more focused on some of the bigger matches on this show because they have a lot more in-depth and more nuanced storytelling. But guys, what, we're comparing this to WrestleMania? You're ready? What? You guys are out of your mind and delusional if you think that that is the case, that AEW somehow put on a better show than WrestleMania. The bigger issue for me is AEW Spring Breakthrough was a better show than Dynasty. And Dynasty, you charged your audience $50 a pop for a pay-per-view buy. Spring Breakthrough was free, and it was a better show. And it was half as long. I'm just saying. Just saying, guys. You can hit me in the comments, but it's just like, tell me, it's like CM Punk said, tell me when I'm telling lies. I'm not. There's nothing here that really leads me to convince that this company can be consistent and, lead them forward. And it's ironic that when they were at their peak, the two guys who are going to be main eventing both nights of WrestleMania, CM Punk and Cody Rhodes, are in the main event with their direct competitor and are thriving. Cody's the WWE champion and the most over babyface in the company. CM Punk has had a career renaissance coming off of an injury. Since he's pretty much been as good as he's ever been since he went to WWE and returned back in 2023, despite being out for basically a year with an injury. Look at that. And I understand some people will tell me, hey, AEW, you should try to be your own company. They've tried that. And, they've resorted to just buying out talent. Like they bring in Josh Alexander, which is a great signing from TNA, which they wanted to bring in. But yeah, Bobby Lashley, Mercedes Moné, it's endless. And it's just, it bothers me when so many people within the wrestling community seem to just be propping this up and just acting like, hey, great, cool, you had a show. Move on to the next one. Have another good one. That's it. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. I will see you guys soon. Bye-bye.